Yes, good morning everybody. I wanted to come down today again to this time around talk to some of the residents, and even though I know that those who are working would be away at work, it was a good chance to talk to more of the elderly residents to give them some amount of reassurance and also to hear their feedback on their feelings, their emotions and what happened last night. First, I think what happened last night is a very, very serious incident. Probably something that had not happened in Singapore over the last 40 years. I think we sometimes take our peace and tranquility almost for granted. But this is a reminder that, things can flare up very, very suddenly. We need to be prepared. And even on the ground, we need to make sure that our RCs, our NCs, our different groups work closely with the residents and are able to give them a certain amount of reassurance. The situation I see this morning as I walk down Racecourse Road is a very different one from what happened last night. The town council came in at about 5 this morning after the police had finished their investigations. They cleaned up the place quite thoroughly, and I think the town council has done a good job to try and restore a certain degree of normalcy to the situation on the ground. I think though the feelings and the emotions of people will take quite some time before we can revert to the situation of the past, because even just speaking to one or two this morning after coming here, they were worried, they were scared. I think they want to know what more it is that we can do to try and prevent a recurrence of an incident like this. Now, while it's too early to say definitively what caused the incident last night, other than the fact that it all started and was sparked off by actually a traffic accident between a bus and a foreign worker, I think it is important for us to go down and understand a little bit deeper why the workers behaved the way they did thereafter. So that will take time, and I know that the police will investigate this very thoroughly, and they will want to talk to all those people that they have rounded up so far, and even more to get to the root cause of the situation. I was speaking to Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee Hean this morning. We spoke about the situation as we saw it from last night and what more we should do going forward. And I want to give assurance to the residents here that certainly the police will step up presence in the area and also in other areas that the foreign workers congregate in, because this is not the only one. And they will pay particular attention during the weekend periods, during the public holidays, during the upcoming festivities, when we expect more of these foreign workers to congregate. Okay. The second thing which we talked about was actually the ongoing consultation as to what changes we should make to our liquor licenses. Ms. Lenise Phua and I gave an interview to Straits Times actually early last week, and this was one of the areas that we shared. And what we wanted to do is to limit the number of liquor licenses within this area, because our view is that in Little India, the number of licenses that have been given or being used has increased too significantly and too much for our comfort. The second thing that we need to actually think and talk through is whether and how we should more properly demarcate areas where drinking is allowed and the time periods where such drinking is allowed. Because I think sometimes some of these incidents, even if it is not directly caused by people who are alcohol-fueled, it is actually something that can add to the severity of the incident. And so this is something that we want to be able to do more of going forward, which is number one, put a limit on the number of liquor licenses, and two, have a clearer demarcation on where drinking is allowed and at what time periods this can take place. Okay, so I want to give assurance to the residents that the police, including the auxiliary police officers that we had employed for quite a number of years already, will do their utmost to make sure that we prevent a recurrence of an incident of this nature last night. And the police will take the time to thoroughly investigate this and bring all the perpetrators of the incident to justice. Okay, maybe I take some questions from some of you.
You mentioned just now that the investigations are still ongoing. Could you comment on whether there has been any indication yet of whether the mob was alcohol-fueled?
It is hard to say definitively, what are the underlying reasons as to why the situation developed the way it did. But when I came down to Racecourse Road last night and I was able to pass some of those who had been taken under police custody, I think in my mind it was quite evident and smelling, the environment that alcohol could have been a contributory factor. And I think if you look at the situation on the streets last night, you will see not only stones and bricks and other such material being used to damage the vehicles, but also beer bottles and beer cans.
So, as a transport minister, have you had any feedback from the residents or any motorists about the traffic situation along Racecourse Road, jaywalking, traffic jams?
I think if you look at the situation and how it has changed over the years, for example, Buffalo Road, it used to be a lot of illegal parking, and coupled with people crossing the streets in all places and in different directions, it was quite a chaotic situation. After we introduced the auxiliary police officers and we worked with LISHA, the Little India Heritage and Shopkeepers Association, to put barricades along Buffalo Road itself and also, put some of the markings on the road itself, I think the situation compared to say 2-3 years ago has improved some. I think when you have large gatherings of people, there is a certain inevitability in the fact that people cross the streets in all the different places, and therefore having barricades in the right localities actually help to control the situation somewhat. Okay. On parking, I think there is a certain amount of illegal parking here, as there is across Singapore. With the auxiliary police as well as with the traffic police, we have on a monthly basis issued quite a number of summons, and on occasion it runs into the more than 100.
You say that it's too early to tell what the underlying issues are, but how would you respond to suggestions that it could also be tensions against foreign workers? And we've seen this on online websites today, attacks against foreign workers.
Well, I don't want to cast this as a foreign worker versus us situation, or try and overlay a racial tone to it, because I don't believe that is the case so far. All right. I think whenever you have an incident of this severity, or even a minor incident, there will be some on the net who would want to try and cast it a certain way, that it is foreign workers and so on. I think it is important for us not to be swayed by some of these emotions that are being expressed on the net, sometimes even mischievously, but really to urge everyone to look at it in a calm manner, to allow the police time to do the work that they need to do, and to give them every support in what they need to do.
But are you concerned about those comments?
Well, there are lots of comments on the internet which I'd rather not go into.
Mr. Lui, there have been plans to increase Singapore's population to 6.9 million in the future. So how prepared is our police force should some of these things happen again?
I think it is not the time to go into this 6.9 million population all over again, or let's confine it to this particular incident, it is a serious incident, perhaps more severe than any time in the last 40 years. Let the police do their job. Let's not over speculate. All right. Let's not over, try and guess what is happening, but give MHA and the police time to go and interview the right people, round up those who are responsible for the incident that occurred last night.
What action will be taken against them? Will they be deported, for instance? Or?
I think it is a question that is best answered by MHA and MOM. But if we recall, just over a year ago, what happened to some of those from the PRC who were involved in the SMRT incident.
So have you had feedback from your residents in this area about minor disturbances, not to the scale of yesterday, but minor disturbances?
I think every time you have large crowds congregating, you do get certain disamenities. Sometimes it is noise. Sometimes it is urinating in all the wrong places. Sometimes it is the fact that they just congregate along the corridors and the staircases and so on. Which is why we introduced the auxiliary police a number of years ago. They patrol this place every night. We double the numbers that are put on patrol during the weekends. They work in concert with the police, and we try to make sure that we keep a certain pathway clear for the residents, okay, so that they are not as affected by this congregation of workers.
So after the introduction,
liquor licenses, you said that they will hope to limit the number of liquor licenses. Is that an indication that maybe there have been too many liquor licenses being issued in this area?
In my opinion, yes.
And why so?
Along Chanda Road itself, I think in a short stretch there are probably 9 outlets that are able to sell liquor.
And why did this happen? Was there no way of
mitigating this earlier?
Keeping this in the
This is something that we had been looking together with HDB and MHA for quite some time already. In other areas in the constituency, we have been more successful in terms of getting the kind of support. So Balestier Road, for example, we have strict limits on pubs, massage parlours, karaokes and budget hotels. Okay, so there has been a freeze for a number of years already on these establishments, and those that are caught flouting the rules lose their license, and those are not replaced. So this is something that we think we need to do more of. I would say not just only in Little India itself, but perhaps to take a more holistic look across different parts of the island as well. Okay, maybe a last question.
A designated drinking area in this Little India area?
Sorry, come again?
Designated drinking area around this area?
Well, I would like to see the outcome of the consultation that MHA is undertaking. You can have a black list or white list, depending on how you look at things. Me, I look at it almost as if it is smoking. I demarcate areas where drinking is allowed within certain time limits. Okay, and for those who are still permitted to sell alcohol, they should do so responsibly. Right? So that you also take a look at those who are buying, and are they over buying and over consuming. Okay, if you don't mind, I am going to try and spend some time with my residents as much as possible. I know those who are off at work will be at work, but there are many of the elderly ones that I hope to get in touch with. My intention is to come back again this evening and hopefully have some time with those who are back from work. Okay?
So the security is going to be enhanced ever since this incident?
Yes, the police intends to do so.
But not just in this area, you were saying that they're looking at enhancing across the island in other areas?
Well, where there is congregation of congregation of large numbers.
So not just necessarily
including
here, right?
foreign workers.
Okay, so not just necessarily in this area lah.
Not just necessarily
But then
in this area.
Passers-by say that it is because of jaywalking that this thing happens, and it's only a matter of time that something happens. So are there any plans to make improve road safety issues in this area?
Road safety is as much a personal responsibility as anything else. All right, and I think we should understand that. Okay.